All right. Welcome back. We're going to talk a little bit more about some basic programming. Last time we did some concatenation. We talked about commenting our code, and we did a print statement or print command to print out hello world. Today, or in this video, we're going to show you how to do variables and input. And then it becomes a bit more like a real program where you can actually get the user to type in something as an input and then output something in response to that. So here we go. First, always comment your code. Get into that habit. One pet peeve that all programmers, experienced programmers have is that the beginners often don't comment the code. And if you don't comment your code, somebody looking at it will go, what does this mean? And for yourself, we often, a good way to go about programming is to start with some pseudocode. Pseudocode, let me spell it out, Pseudo code. Pseudocode means false code, which basically means write down your thoughts in plain English before you actually put in some code. Okay? We'll get to that, but right now we're just going to practice and learn what variables are all about. So variables. So what variables are all about are, well, you might have heard the term variables in math and science, and that is because in both of those studies, sometimes you have some data and you don't know what that data is, and you're trying to figure it out, or that data can change over time, which is perfect for programming because let's say you want to have a variable store some data like temperature conversion app that you're creating. It needs to store that number that the user typed in Fahrenheit. Take that number, store it into a variable, do some calculations to convert it to Celsius, and then output the correct number in degrees Celsius to the user. So that's a typical use for variables. To take some input, store it into a variable, and then use it for something, and then output to the user. In math, you typically solve for X or solve for A or B or whatever letter you're going to use, and sometimes Greek letters as well. When you get into science as well, science and math are pretty much the same thing. In programming, you can name your variables whatever you want. So for example, if I want to create a variable and I want to call it name, I could just type in name equals, and then I'm going to assign this variable a certain name. So Mr. Kung. Now the name variable is storing Mr. Kung inside of it. Mr. Kung happens to be a string. Let's go to age. Let's say you create an age variable. And of course, I'm going to type in my age, which is 25. That's my correct age. So that's going to be stored into a variable. And this is a very different data type. And I'll write some comments here. And you can do comments like this too. Anything after the number sign becomes a comment. So the Python will ignore my gobbledygook English because obviously when I type in English, it's not really English because Python's in English too. But whatever my comment is, it's going to ignore. It's not going to run it as a command. Okay, so I can write comments this way. I can write this is a string stored in a variable. And this happens to be an integer stored in a variable. So this is a good time to talk about different data types. I mentioned two data types. This is a string. Remember, strings are literal. So it is whatever is in the quotes, literally Mr. Kung. Even if you put a number in quotes, it becomes a string. So a string is literal, meaning the actual value It's not considered a number. You can't do math with it. Whereas this one doesn't have quotes around it, and it's a number. So this is an integer data type. Okay. So we've got two different data types stored in two different variables. Let's do something with it. So we can go do stuff like this. Print hello. Okay, that's a string. And let's put a space after that to make it nice. Plus, and then instead of typing Mr. Kung, I'm going to type name here. And you can make some predictions as to what that might do. I've got my literal, my string here, hello space, and then concatenated with what's stored in the name variable. Let's hit run and see. Hello, Mr. Kung. Okay, so it's stored Mr. Kung into the name variable, stored 25 into age. And then I have a print statement here that says hello space plus whatever is in the name. So this is a typical use of a variable. You can store stuff in it, and that thing can change over time. So if I instead change this to, let's say, Bob, and I hit run, I didn't have to change anything here, but if I typed in Bob as the name, it will say hello, Bob. So basically, if you use a variable instead of the actual string inside of the print command, well, it's just going to take whatever's in the variable, which is quite useful. Okay, let's change that back to Mr. Kung. And now I'm going to print you are plus age plus space years old. Okay, and you'll see right away why I put the spaces here. You are space, because I want to space it out so it doesn't concatenate all jumbled up together. And you can see here I added two plus signs because I'm taking this string, adding it or concatenating it with the variable, whatever's in the variable, which is going to be 25, and then concatenating it with this string over here, years old. Okay. Having a little bit of experience, I know this is going to generate an error. Before I hit run, can you predict what the error might be? I've actually shown you this error before. Okay, I'm going to hit run. Hello, Mr. Kung. Uh-oh. It's the type error again. It says again, what are you doing? You can only concatenate string to string. Which one of these is not a string? Well, we already said that this age is storing the number, the integer 25. So obviously that is not a string. So in order to make this work, because you can only concatenate a string to a string, we can change this to a string. And this is how you convert the integer 25 to the string 25. You can really easily, you just go in front of the age variable and you type in str and then surround the variable age with brackets, or these round brackets we're going to call parentheses from now on because that's the actual name for these. They're not called brackets. So we've got str age that changes it into a string. Now we're going to run it. Now it says, hello, Mr. Kung, you are 25 years old, which is absolutely correct. I am 25 years old forever. So that is how you can use variables. Okay. One more thing, I'm going to show you how to do an input statement. So we'll keep all that there. So I'm going to go ask the user what their favorite color is. Why did it do that? Color is. Seems to want to type something in for me. Okay. Seems like a color is. And can we leave me alone? Okay, good. Okay, ask the user what their favorite color is. And we're going to use an input command for this. So the input command is pretty cool because it's kind of like the print command, except you can store whatever they type in into a variable. So I'm going to create a variable called favcolor, and then I type in my input command. And inside the quotes, and that thing is trying to help you out to tell you what to do here, you're going to type in your message. So my message will be, please enter your favorite. Let's actually be a bit more human-like here. What is your favorite color? Okay, and I like putting spaces at the end of my string so things don't run into each other. So what this is going to do is it's going to ask the user, what is your favorite color? And whatever they type in is now going to be stored in this variable that I created called favcolor. And then I'm going to do something about that. I'm going to say, I'm going to have a print statement, print. Let's say it's good to know that your favorite color is space plus what variable I'm going to put in here? Favcolor. And in Replit, when you see something pop up, it always tries to help you with a pop-up. If you see it highlighted, then you can actually press tab instead of typing it all out. That actually saves you from typing out a bunch of typos too, because it's spelt correctly. Okay, so now I'm going to ask, what is your favorite color? It's an input command, and then whatever they type in is going to be stored in favcolor. Okay, it's going to be stored in that variable. And then I'm going to have an output by printing. It's good to know that your favorite color is space, and then concatenate it to whatever they typed in. Let's press run. Hello, Mr. Kung. You are 25 years old. What is your favorite color? Thank you for asking. So I'm going to click in here. I'm going to type in blue because it is my favorite color. I'm going to press enter and see what happens. It's good to know that your favorite color is blue. How did it know that? Well, it's because you're the programmer. So you're the genius who actually made it capture whatever the user typed in. Okay, so that's basically it. We're getting to some useful stuff here. The next video will be about conditional statements. How is your program going to decide what to do with whatever the user typed in? So depending on what they type in, it can make choices. Ooh.